Right, Transformers, Age of Extinction, the movie. What can I say about it? What's my verdict? Yeah, so I wanted to watch it the weekend, but couldn't because I was doing other things. So I didn't see it till Monday, and went to see it Monday night, and I've had a couple of days to sort of mull over it, chew over it, and I thought, well, everyone else is doing their own sort of reviews on it, and I don't really want to do a review. I just want to just talk about it for a bit. I have a little bit of a waffle about it, about certain things that I sort of picked up on the movie. I'm not going to go into any great depth about, the plus and minuses of it, but there's a couple of things that I noticed that other people, because I've watched other people's reviews, both spoiler and non-spoiler, and there's certain things that I've noticed that other people haven't picked up on. So I'd like to speak about that if I can. But before we get too involved, I've had a couple more people subscribe to my channel, starting with Jason Wijaja. You did subscribe to my channel before my last video, and I forgot to give you a shout out, so I apologise for that. Then it was Amber Rao. Thank you very much for subscribing. And Gum Chewing Grimlock is the other one. But I've had a fourth one, and I'm really, really happy about this, because I finally got one of the Transformers YouTube community big boys! Yes! I've got Dave Transformers Junk Heap. Cheers, man! Cheers for subscribing. Thanks. About bloody time I got one of you guys. Anyway, on to the film. What can I say about it? Generalisation. How did I find it? To be honest, I take the Transformers movies on face value. I don't go into them as a Transformers fan, or at least I didn't for the previous ones. I just went to see them as a big explodey summer blockbuster type movie, and for that aspect I quite liked them. Now, if my opinion's anything to go by, I will say that out of the first three films, the one I like the best is Revenge of the Fallen, which is the one that everybody hates. And why do I like it? Well, I kind of like it for Skids and Mudflap and Jetfire. It's just some of the quirky characters that are in it. That's why I quite like it. And everyone else hates that film. They say, oh, it's the crap one. It's got all these things wrong with it. It doesn't make any sense. And they say, oh, the first one's the best one, or maybe the last one. But to me, they're all much of a muchness. But I like the second one better. That's the one. If I had a choice between the first three films, which one to watch, I'd pick Revenge of the Fallen. Anyway, getting back to Age of Extinction. I sat down, I watched it, and for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. There was a lot of good things going on. Good characterizations, blah, blah, blah. Until the end. But we'll get back to that. First thing I want to talk about is the death of Ratchet. Now, obviously, it's sort of the first robot action that you see in the film, and you've got these Cemetery Wind Special Forces guys that have been set up to hunt down the remaining Transformers on Earth, and they've homed in on Ratchet, who's hiding out on this derelict ship, and you see the guys surrounding the ship, and then you see this pond, and you see Lockdown's head come out the water with his green sort of head up display face mask on, and he comes out, and then his face transforms into like a sniper sight, like binoculars, a telescope, like a sniper sight, and he's spying on Ratchet in the distance. Anyway, then the you know, the special forces guys flush out to Ratchet Boy because he's hiding in the funnel of this ship, and they blow it up, and he starts running away, and he's trying to defend himself. Oh, don't shoot me! I'm a medic. I don't want to fight you guys. And then they're sort of, you know, shooting rockets at him, and he's running away, and he's taking damage. And then Lockdown, his big gun cannon comes out, and he starts shooting at Ratchet, blows his leg off, and he starts falling in a heap on the ground, blah blah blah. Anyway, shoots him a couple of times, and he's really badly damaged, and he's like scrabbling around on the floor, pleading with his life, sending out distress signals to the other Autobots. And then Lockdown, you know, obviously gets surrounded by the Special Forces guy, and then Lockdown just walks in, you know, casual as you like, just comes striding up. And he said, well, hang on a minute, why aren't the Special Forces guys shooting at Lockdown? And it's like, well, hang on a minute, something fishy going on here. Anyway, he's basically Lockdown standing over Ratchet and, you know, giving him the old spiel, you know, oh, you're going to get I'm hunting you, blah, 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 this, that and the other. And when he does the coup de grace, now I've picked up on this and no one else has, his right arm transforms into what appears to me to be a spark extractor. Now, if you've ever watched Transformers Beast Machines, you'll know what a spark extractor is, because they get used a lot in Beast Machines, because Megatron in Beast Machines is fond of using spark extractors to extract the sparks out the Maximals and then add them to his collection of sparks, and then he later on in the series he absorbs them in an attempt to become a god. But anyway, so his arm transforms into this three-pronged thing, and he plunges it into Ratchet's chest and pulls out this glowing blue orb thing, and then it gets absorbed into his arm. So he basically absorbs Ratchet's spark. Now, no one else seems to have picked up on this. Why is it it's me that's noticed it? Anyway, that's just one of the things about the film that noticed me. I did find the death of Ratchet a little unsettling. Anyway, getting back to the film, then we get the farm. Cade finds Optimus, dragged him back to his arms. Then Optimus gets reanimated, and he's all damaged, and oh, where am I? I'm going to kill you, and blah 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 blah, and he's falling to bits. And after a while, you know, he's sort of gets his bearings, figures out where he is, and then Cade, you know, sort of fixes him up a little bit. Of course, then he gets betrayed by his friend Lucas, who, you know, sort of rings the authorities, and then, of course, then the Special Forces guys turn up, and they start threatening his family, and Optimus comes out, blah blah blah, and then you get the first of many chase sequences that you get in the film. I mean, this film is packed full of chase sequences. There's at least four or five really big sort of chase sequences in this film, and they're good, they're long, they're nice and flashy, and really cool chase sequences. And at the end of this there's a bit of a lull in the chase sequence, and then all of a sudden it's like they're 1 minute in, they're in the country, then they're in a town, and then they're in this sort of grain silo type place, and this is when Lockdown sort of homes in on them, and Lockdown sort of, you know, having a go at Optimus, and the human characters get caught up in this. Lockdown creates this large explosion, and the human characters get caught up in it, and they're all running away like mad, and there's these big explosions coming out, and there's this like lava like stuff spreading out across the ground. Then there's this huge blast, you know, sort of like Cade, Tessa and Shane get thrown to the ground, and then the smoke clears, and you look around, and, you know, Lucas, who was running not 2 steps behind them, has been incinerated and turned into like a frozen in a running pose as a burnt out corpse. And I found that quite shocking, the death of Lucas Flannery. I thought it was, oh bloody hell, you know, whoa. And this is supposed to be a 12 certificate film, you know, and it was rather graphic. And what's more is they sort of linger on his charred corpse for a bit. You get a close-up and then you get like a distant panning shot going round him as well, and it's like they sort of dwell on him for like a good 10-15 seconds before they move on, and it's not very good, I don't think. And he's like a charred corpse. He's been incinerated, and he's got all this metallic stuff over him where the metallic lava came over him, and he's just frozen in this pose of pain, and it's really not really shocking. And I thought, oh, blimey, that was one of the other things I picked up about the film. Rest of the film, yeah, it's all kicking off here, there, and everywhere. The fact that when Harold Attinger goes onto Lockdown's night ship, and he's basically got this deal going on with Lockdown, because all Lockdown he's been ordered by powers above to get Optimus Prime, and Harold's got this deal with him that if he gets him Optimus Prime, he will give them the seed, which then they will use to sort of turn part of the planet into this transformium, this really ridiculous name they come up for this element, this metallic element that the Transformers are made from, which they're experimenting with to make their own Transformers. And it's very sort of dodgy stuff going on there, but it's part of the plot, and you sort of go along with it. This transformium they're playing with, and they program it to form different shapes, and it turns into these like pixelated blocks that sort of swish and fly through the air. And then later on, when you see these man-made transformers, when they transform, instead of just turning from a car into a robot, they just turn into this mass of swishing, flying sort of pixels that then coalesce into form the robot. And it's shit. That is a bit that I didn't like very much. I mean, if they're going to transform, transform properly. Sort of like shifting bits of doing a proper transformation rather than this stuff. Anyway, how are we doing? 12 minutes. What else? Funny bit, which I quite liked, was when they break into the they get into the factory, and they've got the models of Stinger in there, and Bumblebee's in there, and they've got the big screens going. And I said, Stinger's based on Bumblebee, but he's far superior in every way, blah blah blah. And Bumblebee's getting really upset about this, so he's like facing off against the Stinger, and he eventually knocks him over, and then Stanley Tucci, Joshua Joyce and co come round the corner and says, well, what's that doing on the floor? Did you touch it? And they go, oh, I didn't touch nothing. And then Bumblebee's transformed back into the car and is playing MC Hammer's, you can't touch this, and that was quite funny. The other characters, Hound, he's probably my favourite out of the Autobot characters. He's, real, sort of military sort of hard nut, gunslinger, absolutely covered in ammunition and weapons, and that fight scene at the end where he's basically defending the humans against the hordes of Decepticlones is awesome. It's absolutely brilliant. He's using up all his ammo, and he just gets down to pulling out his knife and throwing stuff at them, and it's absolutely great. No, we like Hound. Drift. There is a sequence when the Autobots get together and they're in hiding. They're in this derelict building, and there's a bit of they're sort of squabbling amongst themselves, the Autobots, and Drift is sort of belittling Bumblebee, saying, he's not a real warrior, blah blah blah, and Bumblebee goes over to square up to him, and Drift just sort of like gets him in a headlock and then holds his one of his swords to his throat, and he's like, yeah, you can try that again, sucker, and it's, yeah, that's quite good. But then you've got the bit where Optimus gets captured by Lockdown. He's on his ship, and the Autobots go in to rescue him, and they escape in a part of the ship which has got the the cells for the Knights of Primus or whatever they are, and you see this brief scene of one of these characters that's hanging upside down in one of these cages, and I think it's Grimlock, because you don't really get a real good look. You just see this thing with lots of pointy armour and beady red eyes, and it doesn't actually say anything. It's just hanging there, like a slab of meat. But then when the Dinobots do appear, and it's like Optimus pulls effectively the sword out of the stone, and then the Dinobots are all there in robot mode, and then he goes up to them and says something in Cybertronian, and then he has to face off against Grimlock to basically beat down Grimlock to prove his dominance over him, and the Dinobots, they're only in the last sort of 20 minutes, half an hour of the film. They were all right, they served a purpose, I suppose. Obviously, Grimlock's doing the most damage. The others do get a bit of a look in. There's a bit of a sequence with Strafe where Bumblebee and Stinger are fighting on Strafe's back, and at the end, Bumblebee finally gets the best of Stinger, and he's got his head, and Strafe's in the background, and he says something witty, and then tosses the head, and then Strafe grabs it and chews it up. That's quite good. And the other Dinobots, I mean, Scorn gets a brief sort of cameo where he's doing a bit of damage, but not really much. Mostly they're just sort of characters sort of doing stuff in the background, which is a shame. But yeah, the thing about this film, I was enjoying the film right up until the final battle scene, where the one-on-one between Optimus and Lockdown, and now I knew this was coming because before I watched the film, I watched Felsbug's review, non-spoiler review, but he said, well, there's something really awkward at the end, and it's with Optimus that is like something really odd going on with Optimus, so I knew it was coming. And then obviously he's just killed Lockdown, all the other Decepticon hordes are closing in on their position, and then Optimus says, get down, grenade, and he pulls out this thing and sticks it in the ground, and it opens up and starts beeping. It's some sort of grenade, grabs the humans, and then all of a sudden rocket boosters appear out of his legs, and he goes shooting off into the sky, and there's an almighty explosion which just wipes out all the Decepticons in the vicinity. And then we get the ending. Oh my god. The ending sucks! It fucking sucks, man. It's awful. I hate the ending. Oh. There's so many loose ends at the ending. You can knit a jumper out of them. I mean, right, what happens at the end? Optimus is on the quayside at Hong Kong. You've got the other Autobots assembled. He's got the seed in his hand, and he's saying blah blah blah, this, that and the other, and he says, right, I'm going to take this seed back to the creators, and then he jets off into space, and before he does that, you see a quick view of Galvatron, like saying, foiled again, and just slinking off into the background. He lets the Dinobots loose. He basically frees them of any obligations that he has to Optimus, and just says, right, you're free to go now, and they just go wandering off into the wilderness. And it's like, well, that's a bit iffy. These huge, great, monstrous robotic dinosaurs just wandering around the countryside. And then the remaining Autobots are just told to stay behind and protect the Jaeger family. So there's so many things left open. I mean, and what about Lockdown's ship? Lockdown might be dead, but his night ship is still there, and it's still full of his minions and his creatures and all those alien things that are on his ship, so what happens to that? That's another big question mark that's not even sort of mentioned at the end of the film. So yeah, it's I will admit I was enjoying the film up until the ending, and then the ending kind of ruined it for me. So it really sucks. Really, really sucks, the ending. I don't know as I'll go watch it again. I was planning on going to Birmingham, to the IMAX of Birmingham, seeing it in IMAX, because they say, oh, you've got to see it in IMAX 3D, and it's like, very few times I've been to the pictures more than once to watch a film. It's very rare that I go to see a film at the cinema more than once. So, anyway, that's basically my musings on the film. If I was to give it a mark out of 10, I would say a 7, which I probably think is quite generous. But, you know, that 7 is for the, you know, sort of like the everything up till the last sort of 10 minutes. And if I was to judge it on the last 10 minutes, then it'd be about a 2. So, yeah, I'd say I'd give it about a 7 overall. It's good. It's probably, I would say, it is better than the other 3. I mean, it's got a lot going for it. Definitely a lot more, you know, like robot interaction, you know, screen time with the bots, and, you know, they've left it wide open. You know, they could go any number which way from here. So, yeah, it's all right. I enjoyed it for the most part. So that's it. That's my verdict on Transformers: Age of Extinction for what it is. Take it or leave it. I thought that I'd, you know, just pick out a few things that other people haven't mentioned. You know, and so there. That's that. All that aside, I'm going to be going to some car boot sales again on Sunday, so I might be picking a few things up. Next week I will be doing my pre-AA video, because I've you know, got a nice bright green t-shirt in the wing, waiting in the wings, and I'm gonna, you know, give my you know, what my plans are for the event. So got that to look forward to. So here's me signing out. See yous.